Good morning, everyone. So if you're just logging on, please say hello. To your right is the chat box. Let us know that you're there. Good morning. Hi, Nicholas. Good morning. Welcome back. Timothy Johnson, good morning. Hey, Gail. Hi, Olivia. Welcome. Melanie, good morning. If you're just logging on in the chat box to your bottom of your screen, to your right, let us know you're there. Just say good morning. We're gonna give people a few minutes to log on. Hello, Emmett. Hi, Regina. Hi, Catherine. Good morning, welcome. I'm just gonna give people a few minutes to just log on. At the bottom of your screen is the chat screen. Please talk to us. Hi, Sandra Moody, how are you? Did you guys have a rock star today? We sure do. We're so excited about it. Good morning. He is a rock star, Emmett. You see that, Keith?
Yeah. Hey, Emmett.
We knew what we was doing. Yeah, we just got a treat for you guys. Thank you for logging on. Just give a few more minutes. I know sometime in some of these Zooms, I've had some trouble. I don't know what it is, some delays sometimes in some Zoom meetings. So we are patient. Again, if you're just now logging on, please in the chat box to your chat box at the bottom of your screen, click there and just let us know that you're there. Good morning. And we'll get started here shortly. Okay, kind of stop. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. Oh, hi, William Reynolds. Good morning. This is Bill Reynolds. Hello, how are you? Welcome. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and get started for the sake of time, because I know this rock star has a lot of things to do today. So just to introduce myself, my name is Kimberly Gayle. I am the Regional Director for the Minority Business Assistance Center. We are hosted by the Columbus Urban League. So for those of you who are not familiar with MBAC, we provide technical assistance, training and education, and free business counseling services. I have on me today, actually, Janine Hooks, who is our business counselor. We also have Sharon, which is also our program administrator, does a lot of administrative activities. I could do nothing without her. Or Janine, they make my team great. And so if you have not registered with the Minority Business Assistance Center, I'll have Janine in the chat box give you the link to where you can register with us. We provide, once you log on and register with us, we have about 24 hours. We'll send you a link to set up a one-on-one counseling appointment. And so we are glad today to present to you our executive series, webinar series. I've been wanting to do this before COVID-19, and it kind of pushed our feet into this, but I thought it would be important that, you know, while things are going on and we've been getting a lot of updates regarding resources and how you can get connected during the COVID-19 time and crisis, I thought it would be important that we bring on an entrepreneur who basically, who have been going through it as well, but also have found strategies and best practices to get through this trying time. And so no other way, I thought Keith Stevens would be the great person to start off our first one. His wealth of knowledge is so credible to give to us today. And so I'm just excited that he even said yes. So I feel completely blessed that he said he would take out the time to kind of share with us his insights. And so, but before we get started, I'm going to read off a little bit about his bio. If you haven't heard much about Keith Stevens, he's the founder and chairman of PSI, Proteam Solutions, headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. It founded PSI in 1992 with just a loan of $500. $500, Keith? $500. And it was a provider of light industrial and clerical staffing services. So as functioning as the chairman and CEO, he guided the company from a one-man startup to an award-winning multi-million-dollar technology consulting, business technology staffing, and business process outsourcing firm, providing senior level consulting, talent acquisition, and business process outsourcing solutions to both the private and public sector. He's responsible for crafting the vision and strategic direction for PSI, with his primary role of driving sales growth. He's attended The Ohio State University. It feels good to say that. Like, I feel like I want to bring football back during this time. The Ohio State University, and completed the university's Fisher School of Business MBA certification program. He also completed the executive management program at the Anderson Consulting Worldwide Center for Professional Development, the Harvard School of Business, and the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern. Woohoo! What's really exciting to hear is in 2008, Keith co-founded a San Francisco-based software engineering firm.
2018.
2018, it's Akeva, am I pronouncing that right?
Akeva, yeah.
Akeva, which is a software engineering studio delivering innovative solutions to Fortune 1000 enterprise and startups of all sizes. What I love most about Keith is that with all this that he has going on, he has his community involvement and volunteer services, which includes he's a board member and chair of the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, board member and chair of Alvis, board member of the Isabel Ridgeway Supporting Foundation, and council member of the Forward Cities Innovation Council. And it gets even greater than that. He has many awards and accolades, which includes several, and I'll just highlight just a few. He was named one of Columbus' best CEOs by Columbus CEO magazine. In 2019, you had a wonderful year. He was Columbus Business First list of top IT consulting firms. He was also on the first list of largest minority-owned businesses. And he was on CEO magazine list of the top IT consulting firms. So welcome, Keith Stevens. And this is one more thing. Keith believes, and he has this quote in here I think is wonderful. He said, the highest priority of a servant leader is to encourage, support, and enable individuals in the organization to unfold their full potential and abilities, increasing teamwork, personal involvement, and results.
Do we have any time left? How
does that feel to hear that? I mean, it's just so amazing. You know what I mean? I was just like, whoa, I got work to do.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing sometimes. I like to play deep third base. I'm not trying to be out front and be the guy with the flag. I'd rather be in the back and encouraging other people to carry the flag, right?
And you're so modest, and that's what I love about you. You're so modest and humble, even with all this that you have going on. So as we get started, one of the things is what we want to focus on more about is best practices in surviving during our certain times. And I'm sure, you know, what's going on with COVID-19, you've probably, with as years experience that you've had, experienced difficult times, you know, prior to this going on. Can you share some little insights about some of your difficulties you had in the past before this even came about?
Which time? Which time do you want to hear about? So yeah, I think probably the one that the lessons really translate now are the Great Recession in 2008, 2009.
Okay.
You know, we were in a business with high revenue, but low margin. We weren't making much profit. Our cost to serve our clients was very high. Our clients really didn't value us, and there were 10 people standing behind us willing to lower their rate to get the business.
Oh, wow.
Had the wrong people in the wrong seats, a lack of real understanding of my financials. And yeah, so we were ill prepared for 2008, 2009. I liken it to being a wounded wildebeest out on the Serengeti plain, waiting for a lion to come along and eat you up, right? That's kind of where we were on life support, and quite frankly had considered filing Chapter 11. I actually went to a Chapter 11 bankruptcy attorney who looked at our financials. We came in, me and my brother, we came in very glib and sad, and he said, you don't need to file. Here's a lawyer. A lawyer told us you don't need to file Chapter 11. You really need to get on top of your financials and start doing some cutting, right?
Okay.
And so learned some really valuable lessons through that, being prepared. I think the other thing that happened too, and I share this a lot, I was in the fetal position for 30 days at least, you know, having a pity party. I think pity parties are okay, but we should probably limit them to 48 hours, not a whole month.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I had and still have a Tempur-Pedic bed. And my bed, my memory foam, right? After that 30 days, I'd look at the bed and there was an imprint of me in the fetal position. And I mean that seriously.
Right.
I prayed every day. You know, I really was not in denial, but just not facing the reality. And so once I got past that, the lawyer's response to us really helped. I think the other thing too is talking to other business owners and knowing that I wasn't the only one being confronted with that reality, that the economy had tanked. Our customers, while they still appreciated us, they just didn't need us anymore. So it wasn't like we did anything wrong. So yeah, it left some scars. And the other thing I think too is just never let us get back to where we thought we were fat and happy. I don't care how the bottom line looks. I'm always waiting for the gorilla to catch me. And I don't know if that's healthy, but that's kind of how I've operated.
And thank you for sharing the emotional side of it. I think sometimes we forget that, you know, entrepreneurs, I mean, they're human. They have emotion. This is their livelihood. This is their baby. That's something that they created, built from the ground up. Like you said, one person's show, $500, you invested your time, your energy, and for something like that to happen, there is going to be some type of emotional response. You know, I know sometimes at advisors, we were like, oh, you can do it, you can but there is a side that they're like, you don't understand. My family depends on what I do every day. And so I appreciate you sharing that portion about the emotional side of what an entrepreneur goes through when they have to experience traumatic as this. So go ahead.
Let me just add this. I think the other thing that was tough, I had to lay people off. We had a staff of 40. I had to let half of them go. And some of them were family members. So I think the other tough piece, you talk about the emotion, is being able to go home, irrespective of how big your organization is. You started this thing, you have passion for it, you put sweat equity in it, sometimes at the expense of not spending time with your family. Right. And then when it starts to go awry, but oftentimes the last people we want to talk to about is our family or our staff or other stakeholders. And what I learned through that process is that that's the best path to take, is be transparent. Talk to people, let them know soon, not late.
Right.
You know, and kind of around that same piece too, one of the things that I learned out of that is I only pay people that can shut me down. If you can't shut me down, I'm not paying you. I'm going to call you and tell you. I'm not going to hide out. I'm not going to ignore your calls. I'm not going to ignore your emails about what I may owe, but cash was king then, and we were limited in the cash we had. So we started implementing some of those processes, and we made it through, right?
You said a really key thing about your financials and how your lawyer said, hey, you just need to tighten up some things when it comes to your financials. It's always surprising to me, and my business counselor can contest to this. We have a lot of, sometimes we'll have cash flow statement courses, QuickBooks training, accounting, a lot of things, retirement, financial related. And I'll be honest with you, the frustration part about it is a lot of those classes people don't attend.
Show up. Oh, I know.
And then now you have, oh my gosh, I got to apply for this PPP program. And they don't have their financials ready, and they don't have their accounting process together. And it's heartening because we try at least to say, hey, we can help you with these kinds of things. Why do you think that is? What is it about the financial portion of a lot of businesses that for some reason that seems to be a difficult pathway for some?
Well, I think the smaller you are, the more hats you have to wear.
Yeah.
And I think that's just not a hat that let me speak for me. I didn't focus on that out of the gate. I did some right things. I got a banker and I got a good lawyer, Kathy Rancier, Fred Rancier, and I got Iris Cooper. And so that was and then Parnes and Associates. So we had that was kind of our trifecta. And I thought having an accountant, man, I didn't need to learn the financials, which was BS. I mean, he provided me monthly compilations. I'd nod like I knew what he was talking about. The only thing I focused on was the top line. I got a charge out of seeing my sales go up. I didn't give any thought to really the bottom line. I knew we weren't losing money. I didn't give any thought to the infrastructure that would support us scaling and our revenue going up. So I was one of those people, 15, 16 years in. I didn't really understand the financials. Interestingly enough, though, the bank that I was with helped me understand. And let me tell you how they did that. So I don't know if you're familiar with, if you've been in banking, there's a term called workout. The workout department. So first and foremost, and some of the people on the phone have probably experienced this, or maybe not. But generally who was coming to my office were some guys that were suited up, tied up. They were giving me free tickets to like Muirfield. They were offering the box at the Shot for a Prince concert, whatever it was. That's how they came in the door. They never asked to see my financials. They took me through no rigor as it related to just ensuring that I was in covenant with my line of credit. I had $1.3 million line of credit. That never came up. Fast forward 2008, 2009, when that hit, all the banks started paying attention. And I knew something changed when a guy showed up at my front door at our office, and he didn't have a suit on. He had a windbreaker. When he took it off, he had a short sleeve shirt on, a pocket protector with some pens and pencils in it. I'm like, okay, so
something right.
Something's changed.
Things have changed, and they've changed drastically.
Yeah, and he came in and basically did a complete audit, but with me by his side. And for me, that was what it took to learn those lessons that had I taken advantage of MBAC. I was a client when they were on Broad Street. Kim, I could have went over to Frank Watson. I could have went through those classes. I paid attention to I only came when you had events that might introduce me to some more business, not how to run my business, not how to be responsible for the financials, right? But that experience with Ken Merhar, I'll never forget his name ever. I actually wrote a letter to his boss complimenting and thanking him for coming in because he changed the whole trajectory for me in understanding cash flow statements, balance sheet, income, expense, etc. And so I got through that, Kim, and I thought that the bank was getting ready to reinstate my credit line. And they told me, well, let us explain workout. I thought they were coming to help me work out of this hole. No, they came to work me out of the bank.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
And so we went into what's called forbearance agreements. We couldn't access any cash. So we had to figure out how to increase our revenue, our margins, because I talked about how those were low, and do it on money that was coming in, existing cash. So we walked away from, I don't know, $3 or $4 million worth of business, primo clients, but low margin, high cost of sales, and pivoted into higher margin technology business.
Okay.
And that allowed us to maintain the covenants of the forbearance agreement. And ultimately, we were able to pay the bank off and get a $600,000 forgiveness. We gave them a portion of what we owed them. They let us walk away. And
awesome.
yeah, so the financial piece was critically important for us. And I would say anybody, if you don't know your financials, then you're setting yourself up for potentially negative impact.
And that relationship with your banker was critical and important.
It was. And as we went through forbearance, I accepted it. That's the thing. That's the other thing I think I would caution people to do. When things get tough, lean into it, accept it, and figure it out. It's not about, control what you can, and those things you can't control, don't let them keep you up at night. And that was kind of the approach, and it's my approach today.
I love that. I love that. So, so after that time period, walk me through how you've learned for those lessons. What practices did you put into place from that forward on? So once you got out, you got back rolling again, what practices that you put into place learning from that experience?
Yes. So, one of the things we immediately did is just took an assessment of what kind of effort did it take to support the business we'd done for the 15, 16 years before then?
Okay.
And could we monetize any of that in a different way? And what we found out, we were a staffing company. We did our payroll in-house. We had to manage all the statutory costs, interaction with the government, et cetera, background screens, drug screens, et cetera. And we decided to look to see if we could leverage that experience in another manner where we weren't recruiting people and we didn't need cash to cash flow it, because we didn't really have the cash. And what we were able to make happen is a meeting with Mayor Coleman and T Street. They had dollars going to nonprofits for the workforce programming. And what was happening, those nonprofits were having a tough time managing the administrative part of payroll. They were getting large pieces of money to put 100, 200 people to work in these subsidized work experience programs with employers, but they weren't doing a good job. So we got that. And I was able to convince them to pay us before we had to make payroll. So it was cash flow neutral for us. We didn't need to have any money in order to do that business. And then I was able to convince them to let us do assumptive invoicing based on what we thought was going to happen. So we weren't at crunch time every 2 weeks trying to get their check in the bank so we could make payroll. So it was pivoting in that way. It was walking away from low margin, kind of lower pay scenarios. I don't mean it to be disparaging. We got our start with doing day labor. We had people we had people working for us when we started that others would probably not have hired. So I don't want to put down the lower pay, but we actually started focusing more on premium opportunities, the technology space. It was tough to get our brand accepted. So we partnered with a $5 billion organization that wanted to work with an MBE to support the state of Ohio, reselling hardware and software. I didn't know much about it. We weren't making much off of it, but it got us in the game. And most importantly, what it did, and I don't know, I can admit this, we actually ended up settling this in court, but the way that it works, the payments would come to me and then I had to pay the $5 billion company. Man, I milked that. It was like a short-term loan for me. And seriously, it was a short-term loan for us that really, if it hadn't been for that and the piece we did with the nonprofits, I don't think we would have made it through. And I don't recommend that for people. I'm just telling you what we did, what worked for us. Ultimately, we went back against them on some contractual pieces where we felt they hadn't paid us enough, and we actually won in court. I think it was $150K, but my legal expenses were $175. So I lost $25,000. But I consider that interest on those short-term loans that I never paid interest on by using their money. They couldn't shut me down, right?
Right.
And that kept the wheel turning.
Kept you
And
afloat.
again, I don't suggest, this is not something for anybody to try. I'm just letting you know what kind of
What
things we
happened
did.
at the time?
But the pivoting into technology was the right move, and it wasn't one that I was comfortable we could make, but we were able to do it. And I think out of that too, we put controls in place as it related to financials. We were looking at all our numbers. We were looking at all our ratios. We were really monitoring that our salespeople weren't out selling low price, and we're not the lowest, and we haven't been since then. We're probably on the higher end of the things we do, and our margins are probably 3 to 4 times as much as they were pre-2008. So the move was the right move to make. Our revenue hasn't really gone up. We've just equaled the revenue we had prior to 2008, but our margins are fourfold. They're 4x. So.
Mm. Well, good smart. It seems like you did some strategic things tonight to keep you afloat. And I think you mentioned a lot about pivoting and having to do things that maybe you weren't most comfortable with, but thinking of different ways that you can sell items or, things that you weren't traditionally doing in the past. So let's fast forward to right before COVID-19 happened. How was the business doing before all this kind of occurred?
Well, 2019 was our best year ever in terms of EBITDA, or bottom line profit. It was our best year ever in terms of our mix of clients. It was our best year ever with all 3 lines of business we have here, and it's the technology staffing, technology consulting, and our business process outsourcing. So it was the best year for all of those. And then the San Francisco business went cash flow positive, and actually the first quarter of 2020 exceeded the entire revenue for 2019 for the startup. So everything was good. We were cruising. I was in succession planning talks, looking at how do I exit certain parts of the business.
Okay.
And then all hell broke loose, right? But surprisingly enough, I was very calm, and I think our staff was calm too. We implemented 2 years ago. We implemented what's called the Entrepreneur Operating System. It was came off of a book called Traction. It's an operating model, leadership. Look, I was so in the business 2-3 years ago and not working on it. It has allowed us to build a leadership team, and for me to have the time to do those things you talked about in my bio, to even have the time to think about doing those things, it's been a result of implementing that process. And so, we were doing well. We think we're doing okay now. One of my leaders is not a hopeless optimist, but he's very optimistic. In my role, and I understand that role. That's where I used to be. My role is I'm going to be devil's advocate every single day, and just to make sure we don't go to sleep. There's a term you probably heard if you know anything about Childish Gambino. It's about stay woke, right?
Stay
And
woke.
yeah, it's about staying woke. And so, yeah, we're doing well. We qualified. You mentioned PPP. We had the paperwork done probably the day after. We got approved. We got funded.
So excuse me. So the first thing you did, let's go back. You put your paperwork together. You said the next day?
Yeah, our paperwork is we're 100% digital. So it's just pulling in information. We actually use ADP. I know others use ADP and maybe others, but ADP had responded pretty quickly. So we were able to pull our documentation together, working in concert with our bank. Our financial partner is GBQ, and so we were fortunate. We pulled it together very quickly, submitted it, got approved, and got funded. And quite frankly, I'll say this out loud, we weren't really in shape where we needed it. Do you know what I mean? There's companies out there that are being crushed who, had this thing been rolled out appropriately, you would have made sure that they were taken care of as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But there was no triage that took place to see who was where and how those dollars should have been distributed. That said, again, we're not sure. I can't see around corners. I know that this economic impact's not over. That it's just probably getting started, right?
Keith, you would not believe that I've had client conversations who were not even considering applying for the PPP program, who had actually closed their business down, put all of their employees on unemployment, but didn't trust the SBA process or the federal government in terms of getting a loan. And really, I'm like talking them off of a ledge, like, apply. Whatever you do, what choice do you have? You going two choices: bankruptcy or apply. Which one do you want to, at least try to see what you can get? And luckily, some of them went on, and I mean, even though they were in the second round, they were able to retrieve some of that money. But there was a lot of people who waited because they really didn't. And I wouldn't say it could have been part of education, not understanding the process, but really just was just, kind of froze. Like you said, they were in that needle position, got into, the emotional side of things, and just didn't act as fast. So I appreciate you telling how you did that. So,
one other tip I would give too, what we created as soon as we heard that there was going to be work from home and the potential impact, created a what if scenario spreadsheet, right? And in that spreadsheet, there's certain tabs, but what it is a model, and associated with certain, say, milestones being hit from a cost, say revenue reduction, whatever, there's levers we're prepared to pull to mitigate the impact. And so having a spreadsheet that has all your revenue by client, your cost, your staff salaries, commission, bonus, and then looking at your staff and potentially looking at who might be the first to go if you get to that point. And so we did that, and we've got contingency plan A, B, C, and then D is where we hope we don't get to, but I've coined that scorched earth. That's when, you get the D, it's really tough. So I would encourage everybody to have that model and look at it. It doesn't matter how big or small your organization is, but have that visible so you can monitor what's going on and react accordingly.
During this time, and I heard you talk about pivoting a lot then, did you, during this time, think of any other new innovative ways or any new products or services that you implemented during this time as a way to say, because I get excited when I see businesses out there, like hitting hard on marketing. I think it's just amazing. Or they're offering services, even the smallest entrepreneurs, I'm a fan of DJ Nice, and I don't care who know it on Instagram right now, who is doing things, had built his followers to 2 million and above, but now letting other DJs come on to support them. It's just the little things that they're doing. Some people can be in that fetal position and say, hey, I don't know what to do, I'm done. And there's other people who are resilient, and they thrive and say, how can I make this as the best opportunity? So are there anything that you created during this time? I thought of innovative ways to kind of pivot or create something new.
Yeah, so a couple of things. You raise a good point about the marketing. What we did in 08 and 09 and a lot of other companies is that was the first thing to go. You stopped marketing, and in some cases, you didn't think you could go sell anymore because the economy was tanked. Truth of the matter is that there were customers still writing checks, just not to you. How do you get out there and disrupt that check writing so that checks come in your way? And it may be about taking business from someone else, right?
Right.
But for us, it's always about offense and defense. And we actually have implemented, we found this, and I'm going to say Co-Video is a site where you can do these branded videos, and our recruiters as well as our salespeople have started using these as a way to interface with their customers, with potential prospects. One in particular, State Auto, has been responding to these videos when before they wouldn't respond to an email or a phone call. Here's the other thing I would add too. Right now, everybody's at home, so this is the best time to try to market.
Right?
And you may not get a deal today, but you can start nurturing and be in that sales process so that when this thing starts to end, you've already positioned yourself well with that potential prospect, right? So that's one. The other thing, I mentioned that our business process outsourcing business has been around now since 2010, 2009. And our focus has been on nonprofits. And it was strictly just doing their payroll for them, right? It was taking over that piece. Along the way, we noticed that they struggle with other areas around administration. Their monthly compilations may not come on time or be accurate. They have audit findings. They don't do well marketing, et cetera. And so one of the things we're toying with is just providing some free consulting to some of the nonprofits that are on their back as a result of COVID. Who knows, that might evolve into some sort of a business model, but we're not necessarily doing it now to make money. We're doing it now as a way of trying to help those who may not have had the experience. I've got some advisors. I've got a bunch of people around me that are so much more smarter than I. If we can bring that to bear and help a few of these nonprofits get through these times, we're looking forward to that. So outside of that, our San Francisco business just got a contract with Amazon. We got one with Salesforce. So what they've been able to do is align themselves with companies that are not going to be impacted by the COVID-19 from an economic perspective. We're doing
talk a little bit more about the San Francisco business and what they do.
Yeah, so San Francisco started so in 2008, 2009, when we decided to get into technology. It was a different animal for me. I came from staffing. I'll say staffing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I really didn't understand the true value of consulting, whether it's management consulting or whatever. I always looked at it from what the hourly rate is. And if the rate seemed a lot, I'd be squeamish that the client was going to push back, when I didn't take into consideration the years of experience, education, et cetera, that went into that hour that gave you an output. So first and foremost, moving into technology, I wasn't sure I could put the staff together, the culture, right? I understand culture eats strategy for lunch every day. So culture was important if we're going to be a true tech firm. I hired a kid out of a parking lot who had a degree in hotel hospitality management and talked him into coming to work and helping us with IT. I wanted his help, but I really wanted his youth. He was like 22 years old. He looked like Bruno Mars. I knew he'd be able to attract people, and he did that. He also immersed himself in just learning everything about tech. He told me to get in the cloud, 8 years ago. And I said, man, get out of it. You don't know what you're talking about. Look at where we are today. Anyway, he started questioning our clients, Kim, and it just wasn't a good look. He thought he was he really became smarter and more knowledgeable than us. I suggested he go to San Francisco. He left 3 weeks later, got a job. We put our heads together and got him a better job at Forrester Research, and we've maintained friendship, and I'm kind of like a father figure to him. Wow. 2 years ago, we had a chance to stand up this software engineering firm. He's my 36-year-old CEO, and he's killing it. And he's immersed in that whole innovation, emerging technology space, which for us, we're now able to bring that to the Midwest. And so, yeah, It's going really well. I'm really excited about it. It makes me feel like I'm relevant, even though I'm 60, man. It's time for me to start thinking about, a beach somewhere where I can let my back burn, right?
Just make sure you wear your mask if you go to the beach, but that's a side note. But yeah, that's wonderful. I think embracing younger talent and the trend of IT is like growing so tremendously fast, and embracing that. I tell everybody, if you don't understand Facebook, you don't understand so many things, get somebody young, get your grandson, get your younger person to explain it to you. But right now we're forced to embrace technology considering what has been happening, you know what I mean? And so I've been on so many Zoom calls of people trying to find out buttons and all this stuff. So it's interesting to see that those who really kind of shied away from technology is now currently embracing the fact that technology is here to stay, is going to advance even more. What's your thoughts on that in terms of, automatic,
Well, let me say this. I think every business is in the technology business to some degree, right? If not, you can be a plumber. You've got to leverage it to really maximize your business model, I believe. talking with, and this isn't me trying to drop names, but talking with Nick Akins, the CEO of AEP, they're having such great success with people working remotely. They're going to change their entire structure. And there are other companies in the city talking about it who don't have to, but they now see the value in it, right? I think Nationwide was already on the track to do it, but they're going to accelerate it. They're going to shut down some buildings. I worry about and we might have talked about this early on, but I worry about the people who are in commercial real estate and who may be in the office furniture space, because they're going to see that market start to contract because organizations are going to rely more on that remote work from home scenario. One other thing I'd like to say too, everything, technology, sexy, startups, Columbus, Rev One, et cetera. What I imagine and would love to see happen is some sort of an innovation piece that is focused on non-tech businesses. I was watching TV and they had this ladder. I forget the name of it, but it's a ladder that does about 55 different things, man. It changed the game for the traditional ladders that a guy getting on a roof would use. It's innovative. That to me is awesome. And I think during times like this, owners, maybe some on the call, but small and mid-sized businesses, look at how you can innovate what you do. Don't just, it's the way we've always done things. That's right. I think the bottom line too for me is if you're not solving a problem, shut it down. If you're not really solving a problem out in the marketplace, you might as well take that tent down and maybe think about pitching another one that is solving problems, right?
Absolutely. So before we're going to open up it for questions. And so in the chat box, you feel free to start asking your questions. I'm going to have Janine kind of manage that right now. So what would be your main advice right now? Especially COVID-19, it looks like things are opening up again, and we're going to be trying our best to go back to business as usual. What would you share, maybe, your top 3 things that you would advise some of our entrepreneurs that's on the call today?
I think take an objective assessment of your business. And if you're not capable, find someone you trust to tell you what's working, what's not. And most importantly, address the elephants in the room. The elephant in the room might be you. Just keep that in mind. I think you can't be in denial. Network. This is the time to get out and involve yourself with other businesses, whether they're having success or not. There's just something about what I've learned is when I took my problems to the table, there were other people who had either were going through it or had been through it. And so it was an opportunity for me to hear from people that gave me maybe some ideas about my approach and how I might adjust it. And I think lastly is just be realistic about the financials. If you find yourself in a scenario where you've got to hit pause, maybe dissolve the business, just do that with integrity. Do that with class, integrity, be transparent, and confront the issues, whether it's you can't pay a bill, your bank, whatever it is, take it full on. You'll be better as a result. And you get a chance, you leave with a good reputation so that you can pitch another tent later if necessary.
I think one of the profound things you said earlier was that in times of crisis, lean in.
Yeah.
And, that right there, that'll stick with me forever, because sometimes we want to retrieve back and we want to avoid what's really going on. But I like how you said that.
One other thing that I remember, and I'll shut up, but just, failure is not a bad thing. Oftentimes failure is necessary. Some of the most successful businesses in the world, those CEOs, those entrepreneurs failed several times, and failure is not the end, it's actually the beginning. And I think keeping that in your mindset too, yeah, maybe I'm failing now, but that I don't have to own that forever. It's just a learning opportunity, right?
Right. Thank you for that.
Now remember that when next month or 2 months you hear about us closing down, remember?
No, we're not. We're not going to claim that at all. We need you here. Any questions? Janine, did you want to come up, and is there any questions that you see that you may want to ask?
We do have a question, but I think what's coming across the chat line is just the level of appreciation for the conversation and the transparency that you've shared with us, Keith, is just invaluable. So, and very much needed at this time. One of the questions that came up is, can you explain how critical it is to have your financials up to date and the importance of a good banking relationship? I think we cannot say that enough. So can you say it for us again, and maybe even put a little more meat on that bone for us?
Yeah, so the financials are critical. They're critical whether you're trying to get a loan. They're critical in some cases. I don't know about the business models that of those that are on the phone, but in some cases, clients, if you're responding to an RFP, they need to see 3 years of financial statements,
That's
3
right.
years of tax returns.
That's right.
And you need to have them, and you need to submit those if you want to be considered for an award of that particular RFP. But yeah, I think it's important. And what I've learned through my relationship, and the bank that I was with forever was KeyBank. And I still personally bank with KeyBank just because I thought, I didn't take personally them working me out of the bank. It was a business decision, and I got it. And as a matter of fact, I think it was a combination of that and everything else, we wouldn't be where we are today. I think things happened perfectly just how they should have. Fast forward to today, we were with a larger local bank, but then I was approached out on the golf course, I was approached by a regional bank, and listen, they have treated us like superstars. And we, in their portfolio of clients, are higher up than we were in a larger bank's portfolio. So I think that relationship is key. I think being transparent with your banker, they're not there to hurt you. The other thing that I learned too is the bank's trying to make money as well.
Right.
They're your vendor. So you don't have to cower to the bank. I mean, you can't go in there and talk and smack, especially if your financials don't support it. But
Right.
you don't have to go in there and not be assertive about what it is you need and want. So I think those are critical. And for people that were going through when PPP hit, if they weren't prepared, hopefully what this has done, I think on a lot of different levels. So let's talk about public health level. COVID-19 has exposed some disparities in some of the communities that we know and love, right?
Right.
It's doing the same thing in the business community, whether
Yes.
it's small, minority, women. If you're small and you were ill prepared, it's exposing some of the chinks in the infrastructure around supporting small and mid-sized businesses. So I think it behooves you. And Kim, let me just say this. I should have said it early on, but I really appreciate the work you guys do at MBAC. I mean, it's sad that you have those technical support pieces around financials, maybe credit. I don't know what they are, but you would think you'd have full houses in the waiting list, right? You should, and that's not the case. Hopefully what happens as a result of this is more people understand the value, right? The value
Absolutely.
of having those things in place, and you see your attendance increase.
For sure. For sure.
I think that kind of feeds into the next question is, where were you in terms of your doubt, isolation of your thoughts, being frozen and unable to make business decisions? Because I think part of that is being exposed as a result of, I don't have the financials, so on and so forth. Can you speak to like the emotional journey that you went through to get from self-doubt to self-assurance?
Well, so let me start with the fact that while I'm a humble guy, I like to think I got a little swag, right? And what happened back then took my swag. It was like, it's not that funny, Kim.
All I've known is the swag, so I can't even imagine, Keith. I can't imagine.
Listen, I was worried about saving my face, man. I didn't want anybody to know. It was like, I took it so personally, and it just, it disabled me, seriously. It just had me in the fetal position where I didn't want to, look, the blinds were pulled in the daytime. It was dark. It's kind of like it is now, right?
Right.
Isolation, but it was, I didn't want to go out and I didn't want to face anything. And then, you know, we went and saw that bankruptcy attorney, and that was God, man. And forgive me if I offend anybody, but that was that whole go to a lawyer and have an attorney who will make money off of taking you through bankruptcy, told you you didn't need it. You know, who does that? And so I think the saving my face, worried about what people would think, being, you know, worried about my image and not thinking about, you know, my staff, our customers. It just really debilitated me, and it wasn't any like grand thought I had to get out of it. It just kind of happened by showing up. So I showed up to the lawyer. I talked about a minute ago. What I learned from that, I should have been showing up in other networking circles and be transparent about what I'm going through. I know that often when I was smaller, I didn't want anybody to know anything. And I think a lot of small businesses don't, for different reasons. A, I don't want you to know how small I am. Mm-hmm. B, I don't want to expose, you know, it's like we always look better on the outside, but I don't want you to see my kids at home, right? I don't want to expose that to you. And that's a fallacy, man. That's the wrong way to go. Be open-minded, be transparent. And the other thing I started doing too, and I started going to places where I was really uncomfortable going. I tried to get a little political. And I'd show up in places where I didn't see many people that looked like me, and it was really uncomfortable. But it was a place where I went and really found information, man. I had closed myself off. The information, the insight, and the support was amazing. And so oftentimes what we need is found in circles we may not always frequent, right? So we really need to be open to where are those circles of influence, where are they, where can I get fed? Where can I share what's going on with me in my business, and then come out of that feeling a little bit better, a little stronger, a little more in the game.
Okay. Fantastic. Let's see here. Here's a meaty question. Can you talk about the importance of your profit being in line with your peers in your market?
Good question.
Yeah, I think that's important, but there are people here that will tell you that I don't really care. That, let me put it the right way. I think our profit should be, but I want to blow it out. So if we're equal with whatever the industry says, that's great. Does that mean we can't do better? So I think that's one side of it. The other side of it is, if I'm struggling and I'm really trying to understand what it is I may not be doing right, and I see others side by side making more money, how do I find out what they're doing? What we've done always, we were staffing, so National Staffing Association, American Staffing Association, was a great resource for us to collaborate with other companies. We got legal briefs. We had contracts we could get out of there, so we didn't have to rely on an attorney and pay those fees. And we're part of TechServe Alliance today. And same scenario, there's webinars, there's information. I was out in Huntington Beach in October for the National. It's amazing stuff. So if I am operating at a level that may be below my peers, where are my peers going to share that collective knowledge, right? And let me get there. And here's the other thing I've found. You know, I used to think that I was in competition with every other company that did what I did. That is so BS. There's enough out here for everybody to eat.
Say that.
A lot of my collaboration were with people that I competed with in one scenario, but then we've actually won and delivered business in another. And that's kind of the game that we're playing. So if I got a question or a concern, I'll walk up and ask anybody what's going on. What's the worst they can do? Just tell me no. And what I found with other businesses like ours, they're more than willing to share information. I mean, it's not rocket science.
That's great. That's great.
Kim, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Brands in priority order, would MBAC suggest an organization who does not use your services take advantage of? So this is your commercial.
It's my MBAC commercial. But first of all, you have to register with MBAC Services for us to assist you. And so Janine will pull in that box on how to register with us. But what we will take you for, what I love about MBAC and coming here, and so gracefully, I just love working with entrepreneurs, but we're kind of like a resource hub. You know what I mean? So we're going to do that evaluation point with your business to see exactly where you're at. And we're willing to take you where you're at that time, whether it is to, you know, slow your roll, exit, or whether it is to scale and how best ways to do it or pivot. I've had conversations with entrepreneurs about, okay, so you're closing your business, you made a decision, you didn't call us first, okay? And, you know, it was so heartbreaking because that person was like, I just cried all night. And then I just put out this email, I'm done. And again, never, you know, thought about, and then when we got to talking about ways that she could have pivot or whatever, then it was like, oh, I didn't think about that. So first things first, you know, register us, talk to us. We have other resources available. If you haven't heard yet, the Columbus Urban League have a minority initiative right now who is following closely with those who did not receive their PPP program. I'm so proud of that. There's also wraparound services in terms of if you need assistance with your rent and other, you know, financial literacy, credit score, all those kind of issues are available to you. And Keith said it best. I mean, this is not the time to be prideful. It is the time to think about quickly on your feet in terms of what services you need and what help you need. And if that's rental assistance, if that's helping you to get your PPP, to get through to banks, we've been able to do a coalition with the sponsorship of and help with the Franklin County and the City of Columbus have been phenomenal during this time in helping us get that technical assistance available to you. Take advantage of all the resources that are coming to you. Like they say, MBAC got your back, we got your back. And so every information that we talk to people is confidential. And, you know, we just kind of, you know, channel you the right way or to the right resources, whether it's access to capital. A lot of people don't know, we still have the direct loan program, 3% fixed interest rate. For those who are MBE certified, we have a collateral enhancement program. We have a bonding program. We still have additional resources right now that's available to you right now without going through PPP or anything else that we've always had available to our clients. So again, you know, connect with us and see how we can help. And then we'll steer you in the right direction. And if the conversation is that difficult one, saying, you know, I'm thinking about exiting or laying off or doing or not coming back, what does that look like? And so we can help you with that.
I think that could be a lead-in for another great executive profile where we're talking about succession planning and exit strategies. So since Keith mentioned that early on in his conversation, I'm going to put you on blast. Like, I hope you're willing to come back and for us.
Yeah, wait.
We don't have enough time for today.
Yeah, wait till I get paid. Once I get paid, I'll come back for sure.
So, you know, as we got a couple of minutes to close up, you know, some of the major takeaways, again, during crisis, you know, lean in, make sure you know your financials in and out, not being afraid to understand different parts of your businesses, having a relationship with your banker and not just open up a bank account, but really engage with the bank so that they can become partners of your business that can help you during that time. Networking, you talked about networking with other businesses at this time. You never know what type of collaborations or things that you can come up with, innovative ways to pivot your business is also, I've heard that a lot today. And then, yeah, you may have to solve the main issue is, does your business solve a problem? If you can't answer that question today, you must pivot your business to solve the problems of today. And then the other thing I picked up from you was about going to places and networks that you might feel uncomfortable. So look around you. If you're too comfortable, that might be one of the issues. So going outside of the box to find different people that you can share insights with or find information is critical at this time. And then two, what I love about you the most, Keith, is being transparent with us today. You didn't have to share all the details about how you lost your swag just a little bit, but we appreciate that. We appreciate that we have someone that can come in and tell us the truth about business and how we need to stay inspired. I'm inspired today. I don't know about you, Janine, or anybody else. If you inspired, put it on the chat box. I know that I am. I'm hearing a lot. Says great job today, folks. Great leadership, Mr. Stevens.
The chat
Yeah.
is on fire. Kim, you're like Oprah. Look at that.
What? Yeah, we need some of that Oprah.
Yeah. What I've done is I
Yeah.
captured some of the tools that Keith shared, such as the co-video and the traction book, and put that in the chat box. So I'm a big fan and proponent of people going to do self-education, get advantage of all those things as much as you can. And if you want to do like a book chat on that, I would love to open that up to a Zoom room as well.
And
Hey,
Keith, I'll let you,
one
close us out.
Yeah, one other piece I would recommend that really helped me too is, I love Google, YouTube, whatever information you need, it's out there. I needed a turnaround plan and didn't really know where to start. I went out and found one that another company had up, looked at it, rigged it, that's really not the right word, but retrofitted it to fit what we were going through, and it worked out. I think the other thing too, and Kim, I sent you a sample.
Yep.
Go to YouTube and listen to some motivational speakers. There's some out there that you can really relate to that will help get you up when you don't feel like it. Just throw it in, throw it up on Spotify, YouTube, whatever. But use those tools. Don't just sit back and wait for things to come to you, because they're not.
Amen to that.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Oh, wow. So yeah, we are, so it's our time that we have to go. I'm so sorry. But this has just been so great. Like I said, I'm so glad we were able to kick it off, and I'm so glad we were able to kick it off with you, especially Keith, for starting us off. And so we are going to plan to do more of these executive series. And so if there's other people that you want to hear from, feel free to email us at mbac@cul.org. And so I think this helps us get through this time, and we appreciate it for sure.
Well, thank you guys for everything you do. We use your bonding program, so appreciate that.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of things. You got your MBE, you use the bonding program.
We take advantage of it. It's been good for us for sure. So thanks for everything you and your team do.
Thank you.
It's really needed now more than ever.
More than ever, we do. We definitely got to stick together on this one for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you joining the call, and we look forward to you guys on our next one. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Also wanted to let everyone know that the recording of this event will be available to all of those who attended.
Okay, see my phenomenal
Thanks,
program.
Sharon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sharon.
You are welcome.
That was awesome.
All right,
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much. Ladies, thank you. This has been amazing.
Yes.
Standing.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Great info.